is Nick, and I am a proud service learning representative from California State University at Monterey, working with the Monterey County Free Libraries. And today I'm really excited to do this book chat based on one of my absolute favorites, The Old Man and the Sea. Now, I only have it on Kindle version. Here's a highlighted quote for later on in the video. Um, but still, it's not going to change, obviously the contents of the book or how I feel about it and what you can get out of this chat and the book itself, because I highly encourage you to read it. It's actually more of a novella because it's relatively short. Now, the American Literary Association plunks a novel at 40,000 words at least, and that's the shortest a novel can be. There's some debate around that. The Old Man and the Sea is about anywhere from 20 to 10,000 words less than 40. So yeah, it's novella length. But anyway, getting into the substance of it, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. Um, Hemingway was born in Chicago, and he basically on a series of a lot of events and a lot of time in the military. He eventually found himself as a fisherman off the coast of Miami, and he even lived in Cuba for actually a good bit of his life. So this story is partially, slightly based on some of his actual experiences as a fisherman, or is at least inspired by parts of his life as kind of a rough and tumble man's man going out there on the water and getting fish. And that's exactly what this book is about. Is literally a very poor Cuban man who is without a wife, or at least his wife died, so he's a widower, and his name is Santiago, and he has this relationship with this boy who's, I believe it's just called Boy, and he's from a poor village. Everyone, you know, he's not he's not castigated, he's not an outcast, but he's just very lonely, and he has very very little. He sleeps with newspapers. He has this hut that's basically open with, I'd assume, a tin roof. So he's an old man, Santiago, who comes from this very poor village, and he is, yes, a fisherman, hence the name Old Man in the Sea. Now, you may be sitting there saying, Nick, this sounds dull, this sounds boring. Um, and a little bit on Ernest Hemingway's style is he used the iceberg theory, which you're going to see in this book, and you're going to see in one of the quotes that I read, basically believing in putting the very surface level in the actual prose of the book, and then leaving everything else open to interpretation and basically having the reader surmise what's going on. So the tip is visible, but everything else underneath is able to be absorbed by the reader through their own extrapolation. So yeah, The Old Man and the Sea is just that. It's literally, I'll summarize it for you right now. It's literally about an old man going out to sea on his little skiff, very poor little boat, and he gets way out there and he wrestles with this gigantic, I believe it's a marlin, either that or a gigantic tuna. It's just a monster of a fish, and he's been doing it all his life. And when he feels the tug of this fish in the fight, he knows it is the biggest one that he's ever seen or even got the chance of catching. And it is a prolonged battle with the fish. He goes out, he eventually catches the largest fish he's ever got. And then, tragically, as he's coming back, the more he comes back, as the fish hangs on the back of the skiff, sharks begin to circle and then eat his prized fish that would have basically set him financially up for quite a long time. And him being so poor would have, saved him financially in a way and allowed him maybe a few more comforts and safety and so many other things that an old man who should be retired needs. That's the premise of the book. That's what happens. So why is it a classic? Besides the fact that, yes, Ernest Hemingway's big name was stapled on this, this was actually the book that kind of launched him as a brand name in literature. It wasn't that, oh, he was already big, and then he wrote The Old Man in the Sea and people just gobbled it up, kind of like modern day Pokemon. Pokemon can create whatever they want and people will eat it up. The Old Man in the Sea launched Ernest Hemingway into prominence partially, and to me, It's about extreme perseverance, and it's the spirit and dedication to a craft. It is the the isolation, the pain, and also the pleasure and solitude, pure solitude, isolation, loneliness. It's about never giving up, even if the chances are impossible that you're going to make it. Never giving up, because that's who you are. That's what a human is made of. Of course, this is a man, so in this case, that's what a man's made of. But it could apply for anyone, obviously, because, you know. Um, but that's the human will. That's the embodiment of a human spirit at the highest peak, is something so simple, so poor, so desolate, so base almost. Just a person going out and fishing, and written just like that in very plain prose. But it has, to me, this meaning of principles in the face of disaster, in the face of destruction, in the face of embarrassment, in the face of failure, in the face of anything. I'm going to read a quick quote before we start to wrap up this video. It says, "You did not kill the fish only to keep him alive and to sell for food," he thought. "You killed him for pride and because you are a fisherman. You loved him when he was alive, and you loved him after. If you love him, it is not a sin to kill him, or is it more?" It's deep. Then again, it's not deep. You can read it as the old man in the sea, and that's it. So that's what I love about this book. I hope you got something out of this book chat. I'm Nick, service learner from CSUMB, and I appreciate you hanging with me. Thank you.